sure. Good morning, good evening. Not sure what time it is.
It's podcast time.
Obviously
It's podcast
it's
time. So
Bears. Let me
it's
see your sweatshirt. Let me see your
Bears
sweatshirt.
time. It's Bears
Oh,
time. Yeah.
how are they doing?
Yeah. Okay. Let's not talk about
Okay. Oh, back to the topic at hand. Okay, great.
that. Let's get on with this podcast. Why are you
Enough
wasting
about
time?
you. Enough about you. Well, welcome everyone. I'm very excited for today's guest, Beth Eagle. I've kind of known her. I mean, we've been LinkedIn friends, I think, since we were born, but in the association space, we've we've crossed paths. We've gotten to e-meet probably a dozen times. But as the Chief Finance and Operations Officer at SEPA, the Smart Electric Power Alliance, we have invited her here today to help us, I think, appreciate some of the nuances of these roles, CFO, COO, and how to kind of manage all the things that fall into that bucket. We don't get to talk to CFOs and COOs that often. So Beth, thank you for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited.
Andrew, on your side of the pond, do you guys have COOs and CFOs?
Yes, we do. It's probably I think probably they're more of an emerging sort of role than established. Um, and probably the CFO role, or we would call it Director of Finance role, is far more established, better understood.
Yeah.
COO remains a bit of an enigma. It remains a grey area between, and almost, I would argue, sometimes it almost becomes a bit of a dumping ground for if the CEO doesn't want to do it and no one else
Beth
wants
is
to
right
do it.
here. Don't say that. Don't say it.
I
That's
no, no,
right
I'm not
here.
saying that's what the job is. I'm saying that's how it materializes, and that's how I think it's treated a lot of the time wrongly. I think is how it's
There you go.
looked at. Yeah.
Andrew, I describe my job as that dot on your job description that says other tasks as
There
assigned.
you go. You get
So
it.
it
You
fits it
get it. You
in.
understand it.
Hmm.
Exactly.
I know exactly.
Jack of all trade, master of none. Specialist generalist. They're all good. They're all good. They're all good
Oh.
things. I'm the same. It's all good.
Well, and you say generalist, but I mean, Beth has her CAE, she has her IOM. I mean, she is a nonprofit executive leader. And, operations, I think, becomes this enigma, this moving target,
Yeah.
this, like you say, dumping ground. But for an organization like the Smart Electric Power Alliance, I mean, you guys have huge member companies. I mean, they have COOs, they have CFOs. Does that structure that they're familiar with then help you do your role on the association side?
A little bit. I think, they are thousands and thousands of employees. Some of them are large IOUs, our larger utilities are. Our smaller groups aren't. So they're used to this jack of all trades type of position. In associations, what I found is interesting is some associations, CFO and COO are interchangeable.
Mm.
It just depends on the association and what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And so in our case, we combine the two and basically overseeing all operations at SEPA.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think I don't want to think of CFO and COO as a luxury,
Nope.
but you
Yeah.
you don't often see it at organizations until they hit a certain size. And I
Yeah.
don't know if it's about sophistication or complexity, but more about budget and an opportunity to structure your C-suite or to have a C-suite. Not many organizations have a suite. They have one executive. What when did this role come about? Because you've risen from HR and operations director. So there was
Yeah.
some kind of internal evolution. What made these roles combined or otherwise, what made them necessary? What was the trigger?
So I started as director of operations, and we actually had shortly thereafter a COO. And we've had one, and ours retired, and I was in the VP position at that point. But as we grew and we really needed that C-suite, we brought on a chief, at that point, strategy officer. And we needed someone who was running the back of the house, who really had it all together, and really to allow the CEO to do her job. So she doesn't have to think about the operations and the finances and knowing that's taken care of. And that's how the role came about. And really to signify that it's not just finance, that this role looks over, it's everything in that operations team.
Well, maybe that is the luxury. Gosh, Andrew, can you imagine a CEO role or an executive director role where you get to focus on being the voice of the industry, on
I can
external,
I
on
can only
relationships.
dream. I can only dream of that utopia. And I do think that, that I think it really highlights one of those constant tensions in the CEO role, which is, where you see CEOs and their boards trying to ensure there's clear water between strategy and operations. And then chief executive officers talk of themselves as, well, I'm the de facto head of operations, but actually it creates a bit of a murky water for them to actually try and then do what the CEO's job is. I mean, and which is to, yes, have one foot in strategy, one foot in ops, but it's not quite the same as running the organization on a day-to-day basis. And I think I mean, I certainly, from my perspective, when I was a CEO, I'd have loved to have had a chief
Oh
operating
gosh, that'd
officer
be
give me
amazing.
the headspace to to do, as you say, to do my role, which is to, as strategic counsel to the board, but as an ambassador for the organization, as those types of outwardly facing roles that I simply
Yeah,
often just didn't have time to do because I didn't have enough capacity, because I was drawn into an awful lot of the operational minutiae that
yeah.
ostensibly I was responsible for, but actually I had little to no knowledge of, a lot of the time.
Do you guys have a club? Do CEOs and do CFOs and COOs have a club? Do you guys have a secret society? I know you're on the board of the National Association Executives Forum, but is there a support system for COOs?
So I'm also serving on the Finance and Business Operations Council at ASAE, which also helps. And you get to meet other people. And then in the Washington, D.C. area, there's FAR, which is the Finance and Administrative Roundtable, which is another group that comes together. So there are different subsets of us that get together. We have somewhat the same, somewhat different roles, usually around the operations side of an association or a nonprofit.
Mhm.
And it's great. It's a great support system.
Well, I know we've had CFOs on before, and help them, work through the therapy they require. But wearing both hats, is a different challenge. And I think the
Yeah.
COO role, as you mentioned, becomes all of it. I would imagine there would be some shared experiences and best practices. Now, I mean, you've been with SEPA for several years now. So as you've shifted from these roles, how do you leave behind that HR piece? How do you say goodbye to
Mhm.
what was your
Mhm.
previous jurisdiction as you evolve internally?
So actually, today is my 12-year anniversary at Smart Electric Power Alliance. Uh, so that is kind of a little note there. We have grown. I walked into an organization, I think we had 23 people, and we currently have 80 people on staff. So as the organization has grown, I have grown. And you put people in roles, you trust them and to do their job. And yes, there are times when it's a little hard to let go, but you get the right people there and you can let go and you can learn. And it frees you up to do so much more strategic work, which you need to do at the C-suite
Mhm.
level.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I think that's such an important reminder that COOs can and should be strategic as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How do you and the CEO kind of divide the KPIs? Like, what are each of you measuring in terms of your own impact or deliverables?
So, you know, our C-suite shares our KPIs, and we make sure that everyone is accountable for all. But, I'm really looking at revenue diversification and are we staying in budget? Um, and looking at the tools to make sure that the other KPIs are being hit. Does everyone have what they need? And looking at it as a larger picture. Sometimes when you're more at a director level, you may only see a narrow view of it. And sitting higher up, you can see a more broad picture. Sitting at the board meetings, hearing what is going on in the industry, you can take those practices into our association and expand them so that we can succeed as well.
I think you need to be, I would imagine to be really successful in the role, you need to be a true systems thinker. You need to be able to sort of elevate yourself and have that helicopter view of the organization and be able to see where the connections are, or where they're missing. And a lot of the time, I think that's that's not necessarily the skill set that you have that you see sometimes in a chief executive officer, but I would think and they should be, but not always. But I think as to be successful as a COO, my goodness, that be able to at any one moment just look at all the different constituent elements of the organization, see where it's performing well, where it needs investment of time, resources, money. Then that for me again, when you think about we talk about delivering the strategic plan, how a team is tasked with delivering a strategic plan, you need that sense of systems leadership to be driven by the chief operating officer, I think, and I've no doubt that that's a key part of what you do. But I'm really curious about the mix you've got with the CFO role as well, because I don't know, I imagine almost an inherent tension between amongst yourself, the CFO and the COO having little arguments on your own. We can't afford it. Yes, we can. No, I need it. No, but we can't. How do you balance that? How do you balance that?
So I think I am not a CFO that says no to people when they want to spend money.
Okay.
You're not a CFO.
That's the chief no officer. She's a CFO.
I have that extra O on the end. I always say, okay, I see you want to spend this money. Why? How does this advance the mission? How is this going to help our members? And if it is something that really is there, let's figure out how to make it work. There may be some trade-offs we have to make, but I don't see the budget as the end all be all. I see it as our guide moving forward. And we are here to serve a mission. We are here to serve our members. So how do we achieve that? And sometimes we need to invest, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But there are trade-offs.
With that CFO context, and I know there's many in the association executive realm that are not necessarily the most comfortable with P&Ls and finances and the budget management. How did you didn't necessarily come from this.
No.
I would call, I don't know if self-trained is the right word, but how do you get comfortable in the financial space to sit in front of the board, to report out, to be the owner of resource allocation? How did you get there?
So I have an interesting background. I actually have a master's in government and politics.
Me too.
I went to the Graduate School of Political Management at George Washington University, and I was going to run for Congress, and then I started working in it, and I decided not to. But I worked in politics for a long time, and I was a fundraiser. So numbers have always come easily to me, and looking at those things. And as I moved on, I was always interested in the numbers and how did they all work. And I didn't always have finance at SEPA, but I was always interested, and I was always asking questions. And then I have learned a lot through the people I'm around. So if we're working with an outside consultant, I just ask questions and I learn from them. And
oh yeah, you're right. You could never be in Congress then.
No, I can't.
If you admit you didn't know something and you actually ask questions and listen, yeah, you're disqualified.
Yeah, exactly. But I want to learn as I go, and I feel like the people around me are the best teachers. So I keep learning and learning so that I could come into this role. Now, as I tell people, I can't do your journal entries for you. I'm sorry. I'm not an accountant, but I can look at your finances and tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
And I can look at a P&L and understand, or a balance sheet, and understand where this association is going. And that's what's important in this role. And so that was really important to me, but also is teaching that to other people. So I have, there's so many people in association who don't understand that, and they need to understand it.
Yeah.
So
it's
I find my role a little bit is teaching them, showing them, and giving them the tools so they can make their own decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we've gotten so spoiled. I will say those of us who are not accountants or CPAs or have that financial, language as a first language, we've become pretty spoiled by dashboards and the infographics of it all. Everything gets very distilled and made easy for us. We want to make it easy for the board, but knowing what's behind it, knowing what feeds into it and how it all came to be. Are you guys a dashboard organization? Is SEPA managing, the needles on gas gauges?
We have some dashboards, but I also make sure all of our budget managers have access to the P&L and ability to drill down. And I put in a pretty easy program for them, so they're not going through the accounting system, because that's just, if you're on accounting, you don't understand that. And so that they can see exactly what's going on in their own budget area and be able to make those decisions. And then I'll talk it through with them and talk about the trade-offs that they have.
There you go. So I would admit, I vote for you, Beth. I would vote for you over and over.
Thank
Andrew,
you.
sorry, you were going to say something.
Oh, no, yeah, me too. I would vote for you as well. I feel like you bounced me into that then, my God. But
I thought I
would,
interrupted
Beth.
you. I'm sorry.
No. Well, I was going to say, so then your relationship with the board, I'm curious, how active is that? Well, I mean, because obviously you need to have a relationship with directors, but you're the organization's chief operating officer, not their chief operating officer. And I think, often that the roles can be lost, and lines of accountability can be lost in translation. How does that work? Do you have a huge amount of engagement with boards or with your board, or do you kind of leave that with the CEO as the conduit, as it were?
I have a very active role at the board. I attend all board meetings. I also run our finance and audit committee. So I am the face of the finances and where we're going in the organization. I obviously work closely with the CEO, and between the two of us, we present that information to the board. But I am the one who they'll come to if they have specific questions. And I'm always running different scenarios and models. We're currently looking at all different 26 scenarios and see where we could end up all the time. So yeah, I am presenting to the board at least once a quarter and in front of them.
Well, this reminds us of how important that marriage is between your senior staff, your CEO, your COO, CFO, whatever that looks like, that there has to be respect for each other's jurisdiction and a unified front with the board, and willingness to put each other in the spotlight when necessary to ensure credibility and trust with that board. How do you and the CEO interact? Like, are you guys best friends? Are you meeting all the time? Are you deciding?
She's not going to tell us. No, actually, we hate each other. We don't look at each other from one quarter to the next.
I'm just saying, how do you make that the best relationship possible?
I think for us, we just became friendly. We found some common ground and spent a lot of time together. Actually, have done a little bit of travel together after some meetings that are in some nice places. We've done a little bit of travel and got to know each other. So that's been good. I like to make sure she has all the information she needs. So she also, I want her to look good in front of the board. So I make sure she has all of the right information.
That's great. That's awesome. So what's going on? I mean, you said you're scenario planning for 2026.
Yep.
We're here, at the end of Q3.
Yep.
What, as a membership organization, and remind me, you guys are 501c6, you have member companies?
We're C3, but we do have member companies. It's a very unique blend, unique setup.
Interesting. How does that work?
It works for us. We have our corporation, our companies, our members are companies. We also co-own a trade show company with another group, so that we also have revenue just from that group. So it seems to work for us as a C3.
Okay. So
we don't lobby.
Whatever your structure is, then what are the main factors in those varied scenarios for 2026? What could the rest of us learn from what you guys are projecting?
Well, we are the Smart Electric Power Alliance. So I think in the current climate in the United States, we all know what's happening in the renewable energy industry. Though I will say we just came off our trade show with 37,000 people in Las Vegas. It is strong. It is doing well. But there are, the industry does have some challenges right now in the funding side. and some uncertainty going forward. So what we're looking at is how our members are reacting to that, having a lot of conversations with different members, different people in the industry to see where it's at. Right now, all of our government funding is basically on hold. So how do we replace that? Where do we go? What are we creating? How do we create new networks of funders in this space who are not controlled by the government? So that's been a really interesting spot that we've been in. And where does this trade show go? Does it continue? It's been growing for the last few years. Is it going to grow, or is it going to contract a little bit? Is our international attendance, how is that going to do? So those are all the scenarios we're looking at. Are our members going to be pulling back? Are they going to be expanding their work with us? So we're playing through all of those different areas.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like you have the benefit of at least some diversity of revenue streams. I know Andrew and I just released a podcast on, the death of dues and how the dues model continues to struggle and be uncertain for the future. What, just out of curiosity, since you're the numbers and money person, what percentage of your total revenue comes from member dues?
Maybe 10%.
What?
Yeah,
that is amazing.
What about from the trade show?
Our trade show is 70%.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
but you made it through COVID. You made it through COVID.
We made it through COVID thanks to having insurance. And then the next year we had a hurricane hit 3 weeks before our show. So again, insurance. It was not fun. But our LLC, they're amazing at doing that work. And so they powered through it.
Wow.
But yeah, it's a little bit interesting, but we are working on revenue diversification outside of that trade show. And that is a big place we are focusing right now, is how do we diversify? And one of the things we did was we acquired a magazine in our space at the end of last year. And we did an acquisition.
Wow.
Learning experience for this CFOO, but we made it through and we're working to bring that together. And so that's a new member benefit we're able to offer.
That's great.
And we're working through this year how to make that work with our current structure.
Very well. We'll have to have you back and learn about that, because so many people are selling their magazines. I'm excited to hear how the reverse of that goes.
Yeah.
And see what you guys can do with it. Beth, hang in there. You're wearing all these hats. We see you. We know you're the jack of all trades. We know you're the all other duties is assigned. We see you. We thank you. We appreciate you. And all the COOs out there continue to do amazing things. We will vote for you. I will be your campaign manager. And we'd love to have you back on Association Transformation when you get a chance. Andrew, any goodbye thoughts?
Just let me know when your next trade show's in Las Vegas. I'll be there. No problem.
Next year.
I'll be there. Amazing. It's always there. Excellent.
Every year. Beth, thank you so much. Congratulations on all that you've achieved. Can't wait to see what comes next. And until next time, put your members and your mission first.
Yeah.